give this lady a follow. There's probably nobody on X that does a better job when it comes to spaces and being up to date on all of the latest and greatest. I mean, Maze is it. She's always normally one of the first people to be putting out information and organizing groups and getting big spaces together, especially when it's important. Anytime there's a false flag or any natural disaster, any chaos or assassination, it's like Maze is the first person I go to when it comes to putting a space together. So make sure you guys give her a follow. And Ian Malcolm, the legendary Ian Malcolm, my friend, man, he's one of the most articulate and talented speakers in this game and in this movement, exposing Israel, their corruption, the crimes over the genocide over in Gaza, the political corruption, and the control the Jews really have over our country as a whole. I think Ian does a fantastic job at articulating that in a unique way that very few people have the ability to do. He's also a legend. And then, of course, Mr. Sam Parker himself, man. Sam's almost running circles around everybody else when it comes to these investigations. If it wasn't for Sam, I don't even know if we'd be able to keep this train rolling. I mean, honestly, I'm so busy right now with everything that I have going on, so it's just an honor and a privilege to be able to use my platform to bring everybody together. And people like Sam Parker, his research is fantastic, man. I'm so excited to see what he's put together today. So I'm going to pass it over to him and let him kick off the space. Then we'll jump over to Ian Malcolm and then say what up to everybody else here. And if you guys could do us a huge favor, please retweet, share this space. You know, there's a lot going on, and without Candace kind of leading this helm, it's actually been a really big bummer. You know, it's like the movement and the momentum that Candace was keeping alive in this movement. It gave us like everybody something to look forward to every single night. So I hope we're kind of attempting to deliver. I know those are big shoes to fill, but and Candace has a whole team and resources. So we're just kind of we don't have any teams or any resources over here. We're just kind of pulling this shit together as we go. So give us that opportunity and hit that share button. And Sam, welcome to the show, man. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me up. I really appreciate it, you guys. Yeah, I mean, things are moving quickly and slowly and quickly and slowly. We have these lurches forward, and then we kind of hit the pause button while we sort of assimilate the information and figure out what it might mean. You know, right now, the big deal, the big story that just keeps exploding, Ryan, is this Google Trends, angle that Baron Coleman first broke, a few weeks ago. And then on a tip, I started putting it on the timeline last week. And now it's just a deluge. And there's no doubt it's a powerful tool. I think there's no doubt it's telling us things. But, to be completely honest, I'm not sure what it's telling us, and I'm just not enough of an expert at Google Trends and exactly what the data means. I am certain it means something. I think everybody's certain it means something. So what's going to be interesting as we go forward is to have sort of the group hive mind vet all this information. And in a sense, it's like, I buy raw milk, right? I buy raw milk. I love raw milk. And it comes with the cream, non-homogenized, and the cream rises to the top, right? So with this investigation, the cream has been rising to the top. The things I think that tend to not be important kind of tend to fall away. And the stuff that tends to be important continues to just kind of keep hanging on and rising to the top. And I think that's the situation we have here with this Google Trends. It's absolutely exploding. Everybody's doing it. It's an accessible tool that anybody can use. And it's something that, we've not used before an investigation like this. So it's fresh, it's new, and I don't think they've taken it into account. I don't think the perpetrators of this crime and other crimes have taken that into account. I do expect that they're going to respond. It's sort of like doping in sports. In sports, the dopers are always ahead of the testers. And I feel, and there's like this cat and mouse back and forth, right? The dopers, they develop a new drug or a new method for doping, and then the testers catch up to them, and then the dopers come up with something new, and it's back and forth. And I feel like that's maybe what we have here, because some of these trend results are disappearing. And it's a tool that it's a very powerful tool that Google has just given us. No censorship that we know of. Other than they're scrubbing results. But since we haven't really used it on such a prominent case before, on such a widespread, usage, like widespread adoption, this is one of those cases where I think the testers, we caught the dopers, we busted them, right? And now the dopers are going to respond. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond. Will they restrict Google Trends? Will they scrub it, much more aggressively ahead of time? I don't know what they're going to do. It's something to keep an eye on. And people are sending me all sorts of fascinating search results. I searched myself. I found myself popping up at interesting times last year. over the last year in Israel. I found other people like Lucas Gage, Jake Shields popping up, Nick Fuentes. A few days ago, Carrie Romney, Mitt Romney's sister-in-law, died tragically, fell apparently from a multi-story parking structure in Southern California. The police are saying it's not suspicious, but, how does a woman just accidentally, did she leap to her death? Did she fall? What happened? We don't know. The details are sparse, but we do know she's Mitt Romney's sister-in-law. She's Ronna Romney McDaniel's mother-in-law. Ronna Romney McDaniel was the chairman of the Republican National Committee from 2017 through 2024. And this just happened a couple days ago. Well, on a whim, I searched her, and sure enough, this summer, back in August, somebody in Israel, there was interest in Carrie Romney this summer. And, I don't know if it means anything. This is where I say, it's such a new tool, and we're so inexperienced with it, that it's hard to know what's relevant, what's not, what means something, what doesn't. But I'm just throwing that information out there. Of course,
I think the most important part of Sam is the really unique names. Like, why in the world would somebody be in Israel be serving for a medical coroner in Utah from Israel at that exact time, and she just happens to get put in? The normal people like Nick Fuentes, who cares? Like, anybody in Israel could have been searching for him at any time. Like, that's not too hard to believe. But the ones that just stand out the most are like, oh, why is Israel searching for the FBI director that just so happened to be installed in Utah 2 weeks prior to Charlie Kirk's assassination? Those ones I think are the ones that really are really prominent.
Well, and we're getting things like street addresses. Like the street addresses near where the gun was dropped were being searched for in Israel. I mean, this is the level of detail people out there are doing now, the research they're bringing to bear. Street addresses, full names, wild, very unique. Like, why would anybody in Israel be searching specific addresses around UVU, of houses around UVU where the gun was allegedly found? Why would anybody be searching those specific addresses in Israel?
Yeah, Sam, let me add to that too. We had a lot of people that have been DMing me saying, hey, I wanted to add to this. If you guys are coming up here just to ask us a question, it's one thing. But if you guys are specifically somebody that has been doing research and you have something important, not like a bush where a guy was hiding in a bush. I'm talking about you have some really good intel, something that you think that everybody needs to hear. Please make sure you're kind of throwing your hand up in the air a few times or doing some emojis so that way I see you down there and I can make sure I'm trying to bring you up on stage and get you an opportunity to speak. Go ahead, Sam. Back to you.
Right. And by the way, this erupted on the timeline last night. Somebody who we've talked on the phone many times in the past. We text back and forth. We have for months, maybe years now, started attacking me publicly on the timeline for not bringing him up into the space yesterday. The space yesterday was glitchy. I couldn't see anything. Ryan was having problems. It crashed twice.
I saw him. I thought that was that Max Nord dude. I'm like, why the fuck? This guy ain't getting a fucking mic in our space. I didn't realize it was a fucking parody account. I saw him the whole time. I was like, dude, this douchebag ain't getting up on our space.
Yeah, so listen, a case of crossed wires, miscommunication, but I'm going to tell you right now, a really good way to not make it into my spaces is just to start spurring out and attacking us on the timeline publicly and accuse us of working for Israel. It's ridiculous. So just let's keep that in mind. And I know that, as Ryan said, for this particular space, we purposely said at the outset when we started holding the spaces this week at this time slot that it was going to be limited, where it's going to be a small group of speakers and not be so collaborative as our night spaces have been. But then on Friday, I guess Ryan just said we're going to have more Q&A, open mic. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes we have spaces where we bring up everybody, and sometimes we don't. Okay, that's just how it is. That's how Ryan's decided to do this, and so that's all I want to say about that.
Yeah, and we decided that these were going to be an hour. It was just supposed to be because Candace was out of town. Me and Sam didn't know if we could even get anybody else to join us in here. We were just going to kind of come in, update you guys, hit it hard, hit it quick, and then just shut the space down. We just happened to go over for 2 hours yesterday, I think, because it crashed originally.
Yeah, exactly. So, the other big item of note today, it's happening right now, Ryan, is Charlie Kirk's Medal of Freedom ceremony. It's happening right now at the White House. Trump was speaking as I joined the space a few minutes ago. I don't know if he still is. Perhaps if we have time throughout this hour today, we can find a couple of the segments that are already going viral. I heard Trump say, he called it demonic. The people who killed Charlie were demonic. He actually said that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right about that, 100%. many a truth spoken in, But so it'll be interesting to go back and listen to that whole speech. I was looking at the pre-coverage of it, like the people milling around. There were so many people that showed up. They moved it to the new Rose Garden outside. And I saw a lot of people milling around and talking, from the footage people were posting, right? And it kind of struck me as it was very casual. It was very friendly. And I just wondered, are any of these people who are allegedly Charlie's closest best friends, who are connected, they're in DC, they're getting access to the White House, is a single one of them going to stand up for Charlie? Is a single one of these people going to go to bat and say, look, we're getting a sham investigation. What's going on here? Nothing's adding up. Look, I have been attacking Charlie Kirk on the timeline nearly daily since 2019. Okay, me. All right, political adversary. I am a better friend to Charlie Kirk right now than any of those people at the White House Rose Garden. There to celebrate, they're celebrating Charlie's death and life and Medal of Freedom, but what are they actually doing now for Charlie? I don't see any of those people doing anything except just going along with the regime-approved narrative. And it pisses me off that there's not one person in that cadre of people that's willing to, maybe film a little video, a little testimonial from the Rose Garden and say, look, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad we're celebrating Charlie, but I don't believe what's going on. And I'd like everybody to apply pressure to enhance this investigation, step up this investigation. I don't know, something, some post, some video, some testimonial, something, anything, nothing. It feels like to get entrance into this party today, to the celebration today, to the ceremony today, they just have to show up to the White House gate, raise your right hand and say, I solemnly swear and avow that crazy troon lefties killed Charlie Kirk. And as long as you believe that and say that, you're in.
Did I lose Sam? Or did you guys lose him? Oh, there he's back. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys seen that. Jack Posobiec tweeted out too a little while ago. This is about 4 hours ago. And he said, I saw a leftist murder Charlie Kirk. And then I saw them celebrate it, which is his 100,000th time tweeting this. Yeah. And Ian Carroll says, no, you didn't. You saw a blatant cover up and an official narrative more full of holes than a school's in Gaza. You've posted this exact same piece of propaganda nearly a dozen times since the hit. Weren't you the man's friend? And so Ian ratioed him 20,000 likes compared to Jack's 5.8, and Jake Shields tweeted out and said brutal. I mean, they're getting roasted by the second. Every second that they try to carry this narrative, and the more they try to carry water for this administration, the more it exposes every one of them.
Yeah, and it's an obvious lie. It's an obvious lie. Nobody saw anybody kill Charlie Kirk. We saw a neck wound. We saw his body convulse. We heard a gunshot. That's what we saw. Maybe we saw an exploding microphone. Still uncertain about that. Maybe we saw that. Maybe we didn't. We're unsure about exactly what we saw. But nobody saw Tyler Robinson or a crazy lefty shoot Charlie Kirk. Nobody saw that. Okay? Nobody that we know saw that. Jack Posobiec didn't see it. It's a factually untrue statement. And he's repeated it a dozen times. And he should know better. These are the kinds of people that for other crimes are always saying the alleged perpetrator or allegedly this, because they don't want to run afoul of saying something wrong. But they seem very, very confident in this when we didn't see anything. We saw some figure off in the distance jump off the corner of a building. That's all they've shown us. And, Ryan, if anybody's ever watched a magic show or done magic tricks themselves, all about misdirection, how you show the audience part of something and you let their mind fill in the gaps. Well, when they released that video of the figure running across the roof right at the end and then jumping off, they have the video of wherever that runner originated from. They have the video of the alleged shooter's perch. They have all that video. It was just a matter of releasing 5 or 10 or 15, 20 more seconds of it to show us where he was, show him being there, show him taking the shot, show him running off the roof. But instead, they just showed us the last few seconds of him running off the roof. And then they told us this is the shooter jumping off the roof. And they expect our minds to fill in, okay, this is the guy that was over there and he took the shot and then he came and ran down. But we didn't see that. They planted that in our minds and we haven't seen anything. Now, it could be that Tyler Robinson was there. It could be that he took a shot. That all could be. But we haven't seen that. We don't know that. And Jack Posobiec sure as shit didn't see that.
I remember when you were talking about that, Ryan, there was like 3 seconds. There was only 3 seconds before that would have actually been a video of them, of him shooting. And they know that it would have been impossible. So it's like, I guess why even I guess release the first part, and then do they think that the world is that dumb that they're just not going to ask about what happened a couple seconds before that?
Yeah, they do. Here's Shadow of the Everett just tweeted this out. It's a clip of Jack Posobiec. I want to play this. It's about a minute, maybe it's about 2 minutes long. Jack Posobiec's now claiming that he's warning that every conservative in America is now at risk from what he calls left-wing domestic terrorism cells. He claims that the murder of Charlie Kirk was only the beginning, and he personally witnessed a leftist kill Charlie Kirk, and after, they celebrated it. Posobiec has not questioned the FBI's narrative. Check this out.
If you are a conservative in America today, that means to live your entire life 24/7, top to bottom, when you wake up, when you're going to your car, when you're going to work, when you're coming home, when you're going out, when you're taking your kids to school, you could be killed. And it's blunt, but it's the truth. And I went to the White House yesterday, and I was honored to be a part of this, panel that we held on left-wing domestic violence that's going on in America. And I said the exact same thing, and even said to the president that, Mr. President, the next person who could be assassinated could be sitting at this table right now, and probably is. And so it's gotten to the point in this country, certainly in the wake of Charlie's murder, and only gotten worse. And I think there's a certain profile that's starting to emerge when you look at Gen Z. When you look at the Zoomers, I tend to notice there's sort of it's like there's no middle. So that's great when you're on the right, because everyone's like cool and based and awesome. But that means on the left, you turn towards the most extreme possible solutions, which include political assassination. So we've seen who? Luigi Maggioni, right? Thomas Matthew Crooks attempted to kill President Trump. This guy, Tyler Robinson, at Utah Valley University, who I think it's starting to emerge that there's some he came from a conservative family, but was rebelling against that, ran in the other direction, Mormon family. And the ICE shooter down in Dallas as well also fits the same profile. The anti-Catholic shooter in Minneapolis fits the profile. Also, in many of these cases, there's a tie to transgenderism and that ideology, which has direct ties with violence.
And it's so pathetic just listening to him, right? You hear them setting you up because they want you to constantly live in fear. Like, has anybody walked out of their house since the Charlie Kirk assassination and been like, oh, I got my MAGA hat on and I'm just terrified for my life. I just feel like, I don't know, I'm going to get assassinated tomorrow, today. I could any day, any leftist I walk by. Actually, almost the complete opposite, honestly. The amount of people that I made common ground with because of the Charlie Kirk assassination in the last 4 weeks it's unbelievable. The amount of Democrats that I have reaching out going, hey man, like I lean more towards the left. I think you lean towards the right, but I love the message that you're putting out, blah, 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 blah. Like the amount of people that have had reach out to me and say thank you for the content and the coverage of the Charlie Kirk investigation and just me giving my opinions on everything. I think this is more unifying our country than anything. And then you have people like Jack Posobiec. The only pattern I'm seeing, the only trend that we're paying attention to outside of the Google trends, which obviously show that, Israel was searching for the best place to assassinate Charlie Kirk and the people to do it. Outside of that trend, Jack, the only trend that we're really seeing is the fact that everybody on the right-wing MAGA media is covering this shit up. I mean, you guys are the only trend here is the fact that you guys everyone that claimed to be Charlie Kirk's best friend seems to be, hell-bent on just diving balls deep in this FBI cover-up and the narrative that our government's pushing out. And I don't think anybody has felt, I don't know about you, Maze, I don't know about you, Sam, maybe you, Ian, has anybody in the last 4 weeks felt like their life was in danger because they were a conservative and they were walking on the streets? I don't think so.
Well, now that I know that Israel's searching for me on Google Trends, I'm taking a little closer look. You know what I mean? Because they're, but I jest. But a slight part of me is not jesting. But listen, there's no doubt that currently Israel, Mossad, Jewish mafia networks are currently planning the assassinations of somebody right now. Okay, they're planning on killing somebody right now. They're planning it. They've been assassinating Iranian leaders, Yemeni leaders, Hezbollah leaders, Hamas leaders, other leaders, other people. These people assassinate people. You can go to their Wikipedia page and see, Israeli assassinations broken down by decade. There's books like Ronan Bergman's Rise and Kill First, the secret history of, the Mossad and assassinations, right? That's the original Sicarii back in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago were Jewish assassins who carried daggers, right, around. That's the original Sicarii. That's where you get the name of Sicario. The drug cartel assassins, right? It comes from the original Jewish assassins. Oh yes, go look it up. The Sicarii were Jewish assassins in the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago. Okay, these people have a long and rich history of assassination.
You know that when me and Oscar went to Mexico and that we broke that story on how, Israel was sending soldiers over here to train the cartels, the Sicarios, and they were actually flying the Sicarios over to Israel to train them. And then they couldn't, it was too complex of a situation to teach them how to dissolve bodies and actually build the compounds to actually dissolve the bodies. So after they trained them, sent them to Israel and trained them, then Israel sent their soldiers back here to actually build out the compounds for the Sicarios. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we know who the biggest global mafia is, and any other smaller mafia mob operations obviously are subject to the authority or interaction with the bigger mafias and the bigger mobs, right? So, absolutely. So there's a wonderful connection between Israel and the current day Sicarios, and it goes all the way back 2,000 years. So, by the way, a time when a person by the name of Jesus Christ was also killed by these people. They love assassinations. They've been doing it for a long, 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 long time. Go ahead, Baze. And then I have
Well, I was
something to say.
just going to say that, I think in order for you to turn or I guess convert to Judaism, you have to denounce Christ. And
Yes.
that's something that's pretty interesting because if you look at Donald Trump, and I don't know if you guys have noticed
But
this,
by the way,
this
Maze, let's hold on that for a second, because you don't just, it's actually a very extensive process of denouncing Jesus Christ. They make you jump through a lot. I have a personal testimonial from somebody who did this. And you know what? It might make for a good space sometime. But it involves donating money. It involves swearing oaths to rabbis and synagogues. It's a very extensive process of the renunciation of Jesus Christ and proving that you've purged him from your life when you convert to Judaism, if you're a Christian. Very extensive process. It's actually really disgusting. And if people knew it, they would, when they see Christians convert to Judaism, like Cassie Dillon, or this Emily Saves America who's going to marry this Jew, or Ivanka Trump.
Ivanka.
Yeah. You would be absolutely revolted. You're already revolted that these people renounce Christ and convert to Judaism. If you knew all the steps and hoops and oaths they have to swear to get there, you would throw up. And maybe I'll do a space on that sometime. But anyway, go ahead. I just want to throw that out there.
You should do a space on that, Sam, because I just found out about that shit today, and I think it is very important. I think what Americans right now don't know is it's time to put it up. It's time to talk about it. One of the things, I don't know if you guys noticed it, I'm pretty sure you guys have, is the overt servitude to Israel. Trump has literally been, I can't even, if he would take the nuts out of his mouth to breathe for a second, I would be relieved. But no, he's nonstop, just literally, putting it on blast for Americans to see that, yes, I'm in Israel, and yes, Miriam Adelson, basically, who funded my entire campaign, wants to put Israel first, and I did the Golan Heights, and I put, the embassy in Jerusalem. He's literally bragging about this, and you can see how proud and happy that motherfucker Netanyahu is. And at this point, it's we don't even have a president. I don't even know who I'm looking at. I'm is this guy even does he care about America at all? And so when I found this out about having to denounce, and I didn't even know the level and extent of denouncing that you're speaking about, I am very interested in it. But I think that this idea of Judeo-Christianity, this exposes that. It's impossible. You cannot be both, right? And at the end of the day, I just feel these are the things that people need to know. And if you're going to denounce Christ to become, Jewish, and then you have It's just like he's never going to do his daughter and his family wrong. And Jared Kushner, the amount of money these motherfuckers have made since he's been in office will blow your mind. It is insane. Do you guys know how much money he's made since he's been in office? I just, I'm at the point now. It's like, I just, it's like I feel just as much as I wanted to get him in office. Like right now, I want to expose him. Like he's going to be the downfall of our country now. I feel like, to be honest.
I mean, he's so clearly Israel first. Everything he does, it seems like this entire administration and the entire apparatus of the federal government for 2 whole years now has simply been an appendage of the Knesset. It's just been an appendage of the Israeli national government and Benjamin Netanyahu and organized world Jewry. It seems like every day the headline is Donald Trump or Joe Biden or the Biden administration or the Trump administration is doing something for Israel, doing something for Jews. And I just want to know, when are we going to do something for America? When are we going to do something for America? Getting back to Jack Posobiec, many people, you might not realize this, but he proudly says it in his Twitter profile. He is naval intelligence, okay? Jack Posobiec is a naval intelligence officer. And there is a long history of naval intelligence working with the mob, working with Israel, working with the Jewish mafia, going back several decades, okay? It's not a coincidence that JFK was taken to Bethesda Naval Hospital under the auspices of LBJ after his assassination for the fake cover-up autopsy, okay? That's not a coincidence. Now, and who helped cover up the USS Liberty incident, right? So, attack, right? Jack Posobiec is naval intelligence. He's an intelligence officer. He's a smart guy. He's well-connected, has access to all sorts of information and people and platforms and databases and things like that we don't. And this guy is out there unironically blowing smoke up our asses about, I saw a leftist kill Charlie Kirk. No, you didn't. And then he's peddling this nonsense about Thomas Crooks that we all know is a bunch of bullshit, right? And by the way, his wife, Tanya Posobiec, born in the former Soviet Union, in Belarus, I think, her dad has been rumored to be part of the Belarusian military, might have her own intelligence connections, I'm not sure. When they got married, they honeymooned in Israel. Okay, he posted about that on Twitter back in the day. You can go find it. They honeymooned in Israel, and for several years, he has been covering up and denying and pretending to be ignorant about any connection between Jeffrey Epstein and the Mossad or Israeli intelligence or Israel or Jewish billionaires or anything along those lines. There's video of him playing dumb on that. So, and you'll never see him tweet about Israeli subversion or control over American politics or AIPAC or any of this bullshit. This guy is not our friend. He LARPs as this pro-American, pro-white, Catholic, Christian, whatever guy. But he is not our friend, and he's just spinning fantasies, upholding the regime's narratives. That's what he does. He infiltrates the right. He LARPs as one of us. Meanwhile, he just peddles nonsense and bullshit regime narratives. Goodness.
Y'all want to see where the general is? Hold on, I'm going to show y'all real quick. I'll pause the show. Want the general, bitch? Anybody who wants to follow a strong thinking strategist? He's actually a financial strategist, but he has a morning show 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern called the Ethnic American Broadcast. That's him right there. You want to debate? Come on into our space, David. Come debate, okay? We hold spaces all the time. Every day we're on spaces. Follow me on X. This is my profile right here. Come talk to me, bro. Shoot me a DM. My DMs are open. Alright? We can debate anything you want to fucking debate, and I'll put it on YouTube too. Okay?
Sorry, I couldn't get off mute. So, Sam, I just got this from the Green Man, and I was curious if you had heard it. But It's saying that the Baron Coleman's newest video, where he's showing that the Google searches from Israel, whatever, was for Caldera Engineering, which is the exact microphone model of the type that Charlie was wearing, and a whole list of other new stuff.
Caldera, I don't think was Caldera alleged to made the mic. I think it was a Rode wireless mic, and that made the microphone, and that did show up in the search results. That did show up in one of Barron's investigations. That's true. And Caldera did also show up in, I believe, in the search results as well, if I recall. It's a lot of information to keep track of in your head, and I probably need to start writing it down. But just to tease that apart, I don't think Caldera. I think they're getting a little conflation there. I don't think, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe that Caldera is alleged to have made the microphone. We're still actually investigating what the.
If David doesn't type 1111 right now, 4 1s, 1111, he's a bot.
Connection with Caldera is and why they're connected. I think that's where we're at. Go ahead. Blake raised his hand, and Ian, let's go to Ian, then Blake.
Uh-oh. Can you guys hear him?
And why don't we, did Sam lose it?
Ian's having problems. Let's go to Blake. Ian, we'll get you back up if you can get that resolved. Go ahead, Blake.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. First, I just wanted to start with letting everyone know how grateful I am for the comments, messages, support, all of that. Look, it's been rough, but I can't leave this alone, and I'm not going to. My wife told me yesterday, she's like, babe, I'm strapped. Like, nothing, if someone wants to come after me, it is what it is. And she's like, you need to keep on. Like, keep on. So I'm making a video right now, and it's probably one of my most researched topics. It'll go out here in a sec. And I am so sure on trying to find the identity of this individual. I'm going to throw in a $5,000 Bitcoin reward for anybody that can provide video, anything. This guy's a ghost. No one knows who he is. I didn't necessarily make the last video I put out before all of the insane threats rolled down. I guess I didn't make it very clear, and it was maybe a little confusing. So I have basically gone back to the drawing boards and gone so much more in depth on my research and with times and all sorts of things. I think it'll be really informative. And then at the end of it, we need to figure out who this person is, because this is the only person in the crowd that disappears, appears, disappears, appears. Everybody else, no matter which video, which Snapchat, they're there. Like, the person that you might be looking for up front is there. Like, no one leaves. It's very difficult to leave, except for this person. And I think this video will be very informative. So look for that on my page rolling out. But I can't leave this alone, and I'm not going to leave this alone. Today's Charlie's should be his 32nd birthday. He should be blowing out candles instead of having his widow receive Presidential Medal of Freedom at the White House. It's outrageous. I'm angry because Charlie, this should not happen to anybody. And we need to keep fighting, and we are, and we're going to. Real quick on the VPNs and Google Trends, I'm curious to know, and I don't know the answer to this, and it's fairly ambiguous when you go and search online. Would a VPN change or be recorded on Google Trends? So if I'm sitting here in Lubbock and I am dialed in through an Israeli VPN and I go to search Sam's name, would it show that someone from Israel searched Sam's name, okay? Or if we had a bunch of people do that, like, would it spike?
To answer your question, from what I know, it goes off of IP addresses. So if your IP address is Israel, which would happen with a VPN. Now, people have been saying that since the beginning. What if they're using a VPN? Okay, so somebody's trying to frame Israel. You know, is that what's happening? Because that's the allegation.
Right. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
It
but
sounds.
let's think that through. Let's think that through. The uniformly adopted talking point is that by the FBI, by everybody, by literally everybody in the regime, across all the intelligence agencies, across all the media, across all the Republican Party, everywhere, uniformly, the regime's approved talking point is that this was a crazy, kooky, radical leftist. Okay, nobody's trying to frame the Mossad. Nobody's trying to frame Israel. They got caught with their pants down. Okay, that's what's happening here. They got caught with their pants down. Nobody's trying to frame them. Okay, they're trying to take heat off them, not frame them. Nobody's using VPNs a year ago to like, oh, we're gonna plan the assassination of Charlie Kirk and frame the Mossad. Like, there's no such operation happening. All right,
I just want to be clear. This dude, he usually makes really good arguments, but this is a really, even though I believe the premise of what he's saying, that I think that Israel did it. I think they had the most to gain and everything like that. He just because he's saying that nobody's framing Israel, that's bullshit. Somebody could absolutely be framing Israel. That's a false premise. There's all kinds of countries and groups that would love to frame Israel on some shit. So yeah, I mean that's just fallacious, illogical thinking on his part. I apologize for him, but yeah, that's bullshit. But usually what he says is pretty well thought out.
We're having to fight the regime to show that perhaps Israel's involved. So that's why I reject this idea that, well, yes, they could be VPNs. Obviously, they could be VPNs, obviously. And we know who controls most of the VPNs, by the way. Most of them are Unit 8200 cutouts, right? We know that. So I think, it's possible. Why are we only seeing searches here and there? Maybe it's because most of the people were practicing good OPSEC, but there's some lackey or a few lackeys here and there who are sort of on the periphery and doing retarded Google searches because they don't know what they're doing and they're messing up. That's kind of how I interpret this at this moment. So yes, if you use a Israeli registered VPN, then it would show up as Israel in the search results. But like, I don't know how many people are using, in the United States are using Israeli registered IP addresses. I don't know, maybe some. I don't know. I can't say. But my point is I don't think anybody's trying to frame Israel here. I don't think that's what this is.
Yeah,
I think that's
I agree with you, Sam. Yeah. I think Israel would probably be the last country I would choose when I'm scrolling through to pick my country that I'm going to browse from. So thank you for that. And real quick, last thing is Adam Bartholomew. So yesterday on the space, and I think it might have been Sam, I can't remember. Someone was saying just how it was kind of weird that he was in all of the right places. Look, I'm going to push back, Sam, because Adam is solid.
I didn't accuse him of any wrongdoing or malfeasance. I just said it was.
No, it was kind of an assertion that he was like kind of in the right place at the right time, very, very often, and quite frankly, I don't know what
that means. I'm just pointing it out. It has to be pointed out, but I don't know what it means. And if anybody thinks I'm accusing him of like actively or knowingly participating in a murder, that is absolutely not what I was insinuating. What I was insinuating is that it was odd. And I don't know what it means, but it needs to be called out and discussed and investigated. That's all.
Sure. No, and that was so. I am the one who reached out to him early on. I wanted to know when he posted it. It was posted within 2 hours of him getting home. It went straight from his memory card right into the YouTube upload, and basically he showed me what he was walking around with. He was walking around with a massive backpack. He said his son made fun of him and said he looked like a Ghostbuster because he had 2 tripods in both hands. One of them had his iPad. Another one had the camera that was attached, and then the microphone was wired. And so he's walking around the scene with all of this and just the trove of just evidence. And I mean, it's incredible what he did capture. But he very much so was just picking out people on the roof. And I mean, it's just a weird coincidence, but yeah,
I will re-up this. Listen, moments after the assassination, minutes after the assassination, he walks all the way in a big arc around the campus and sets his camera up with a perfect view of that back corner of the Losey building, where we end up getting a video of the shooter escaping. And then he pans over the camera to the parking structure and the cameras that, like in the video that you originally shared, he does the same angle and shows us that. Like, what is that all about? Like, who cares about the top of a parking structure over here? Like, minutes, hours. At this point in time, nobody knew where the shot had come from. Nobody knew where the alleged shooter had escaped from. Nobody knew any of these things. How is it that he's setting up his tripod and getting these perfect, fixed shots of these locations that are going to be important tomorrow? What's that all about?
Yeah,
I don't know. What that means. Listen, I'm not accusing him of any malfeasance. I don't know what that means.
No, he was just videoing the people on the roof. You could see the guys on the roof. Yeah, so he moved to an elevated position on the hill there. That's why he is videoing down with people on the sidewalk. But you can clearly see before the video, or before he arrives at that elevated position, he's picking up people on the roof there on the Losey building. So there's law enforcement with their ARs on the roof. He walks around to the hill and he looks up, and then you can see 3 or 4 law enforcement guys with their AR up on the top of the Losey building.
Yeah, we'll have to take another look at that. So yeah, like I said, there could be a completely plausible explanation. I never wanted I was accusing him of anything. I just I'm
with you, Sam.
Because
I'm with you, man.
I'm with you. He shoots that corner, then he pans over and gets the cameras on the parking structure. Then he pans around and retraces the shooter's escape path. And I'm like, it's like he's recreating, pre-creating as in before. He's pre-creating rather than recreating. He's pre-creating the shooter's path and the surveillance of the shooter. So like, well, this is weird. I don't know what it means. Maybe it's as you say. I don't know. I'm gonna go take another close look.
Go back and look at the video. I've watched it more times.
But it doesn't mean that he's in on anything necessarily, or that he's a bad guy. I'm not trying to insinuate that. I'm just saying it's odd, it's curious, and it needs to be looked at and asked questions. You know, we need to look at that. That's all I'm saying, right? So
cool. All right, guys. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Blake. Appreciate it. That's a good piece of intel. I'll have to go back and take a closer look at that. Appreciate you. Doing great work. Blake Bednar's, everybody doing great work. Broken a lot of stories. Ian, are you back?
Yeah, is this working?
Yes.
10-4.
All right, perfect. And look, to kind of stick with some of the overarching talk tracks here, in particular around Jack Sobek, who Sam, you were perfectly describing earlier, where this individual not only is essentially a shill, but I think it's pretty easy to tie him to intelligence agencies, and then we have to question the motivation behind all these things.
Well, I mean, Ian, he ties himself. He proudly proclaims he's naval intelligence. Like, I mean, right?
Yeah, he's exactly. I am working with the machine. Now take me seriously and presume me unbiased. Like, what a laugh. But yet, that's what we're expected to swallow, along with, everybody's familiar, of course, with some of the shenanigans that have been taking place on this application to highlight certain voices, to minimize others. And the reason that I bring kind of this topic back up is because of the post today by Nikita Bier, who is a Jew and is the head of product for X, meaning that he's basically responsible for a lot of the strategic decision-making of the entirety of the application, who just announced that X is going to be released.
David, we know you're a bot, bro. We already found that out. You didn't type 1111. We know you're a bot.
Releasing a feature where they're going to put the nation of origin of all posters onto their profiles. And I bring it up because, look, there's lots of individuals that would want to be anonymous for a million different reasons. And I'm not necessarily ashamed or anything along those lines of where I'm from, but I do like to be able to participate in this intellectual set of conversations without necessarily having to give any further information than what I do with my, let's say, my posts and my voice, which in many ways would probably showcase to people probably where I'm from. But regardless, this idea of putting the flag on the bio, I bring it up because those individuals that, like myself, like to participate in this with the benefit, let's say, of being anonymous, well, they're now basically having that ability presumably taken away. And the thing that I find interesting about it is he then mentioned that you will be able to opt out of that functionality, which I would assume that Vivid Prowess and a lot of these other folks likely will. But that there prospectively is going to be a ding on your reach or visibility, because the presumption is that if you are not publicly sharing that information, well, then you might be inauthentic in one capacity or another. I would make the claim that a lot of the pro-Israel accounts on this application and pro-Jew accounts, a lot of them are probably coming out of India and other third world locations where these people are making a couple shekels for their content. But the reason that I bring this up again, let's think about this. So you now have basically, we are aware that there is an entire effort by a former member of the Trump administration to run a PR campaign that is basically pro-Israel and pro-Jew on social media. That is happening. Millions of dollars going into those efforts. They're then paying something like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per post to some of these pro-Israeli shills that are out there. Emily Austin, I think, being one of the highest paid. It's very curious that they advertise that $7,000 mark because, well, if you translate it back to biblical times, it's also the amount supposedly that Judas was given for turning on Christ, right? So there's some very interesting aspects there. But let's think about this. So you now have people that are running full-fledged propaganda campaigns. You have others that are working with the intelligence agencies, likely with Mossad. You then have shills that are being incentivized not only with additional reach and boosting of their messages, but also of literal payment for their content if they shill for the machine. Well, now you have Nikita Bier and the rest of the quote-unquote product team basically determining how can we force the self-doxing little by little by little of the anonymous accounts that are big thorns in our side, which I would suggest.
Ian, that's it right there, because that's where I thought you might be going, is the slippery slope. It starts with your country of origin. Now, where's it going to end up? Where's the next domino to fall in the self-doxing, right? In the self-doxing process here.
That's exactly
right?
where I was going to take us.
Increments.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this idea of the self-doxing, and what I can almost see, and it's so funny because these playbooks are always so transparent, but I can see what they're going to do, which is to say, oh, first it's the country of origin. Oh, now you're an anonymous individual that doesn't have your, let's say, your first name or your last name or your profile picture or your whatever. And each one of those little incremental requirements dinging your visibility more and more and more to get to the point where they now sit back and they just say, well, I mean, you can either shill for Israel and we'll pay you and boost you, or you just no longer get a voice because, well, you're a concerning individual who's an anonymous account. You're not confident in what you're saying. Well, simultaneously, the state then tries to roll out, let's say, either prohibitions, if not criminalization of critiquing the very machine that we're merely describing. We're not sitting here, we're not saying anything hateful, we're just connecting dots on Charlie Kirk, on Jewish supremacy, on the Jews that are essentially, in my eyes anywhere, almost across the entirety of Western, not only Western Europe and the United States, but also Central and South America. We just had Milei today meeting with Trump. Milei, a Jew. We now have Jews that are in El Salvador, in Panama, in Mexico, in Argentina. I can go on and on and on. And so we see this power structure arising that's going to say, you don't get to critique us. If you do, you don't get any visibility. You don't get any reach. You ultimately probably won't get to participate in the public forum. But the entire time, they're going to just dishonestly and disingenuously say, X is the free speech platform. Everyone gets a voice. It's freedom of speech, just not freedom of reach. And if you're an anonymous individual, will either criminalize your activity so that you can't do something, or if you do it behind an anonymous account, nobody gets to hear it because you're the tree that falls in the middle of the woods with nobody around. And so it's so sick on so many levels. It's so effeminate. It's so subversive. It's frankly very weak. It's weak-minded. It's weak-willed. It's transparent in its let's say its machination. And that's the thing that I find so frustrating, is that at every turn we're told by these people that these things aren't happening. Jewish supremacy isn't happening. Jewish subversion isn't happening. Then when we start to make it irrefutably true that it is, well, what do? They turn around and say, well, you no longer get to be in the discourse because you're just hateful. Okay, so we're just going to change the definitions of these words. We're going to act as if these things don't happen when we can validate that they do. We'll criminalize the act of calling them out while also suggesting you're hateful for noticing. And so at the end of the day, the only thing that you can do is to get paid for shilling for that which is destroying the rights of all of the people that dare to have a spine, that dare to have any conviction, that dare to make the world a better place in any capacity. And so it feels like a slippery slope straight into a digital hell that will basically be required because the economy, the morality, all of that's going with it. And so they have to lie and they have to continually propagandize that everything is just fine as the world around you goes to hell in a handbasket. And I refuse to be part of it. I refuse to be paid off by it. I will forever stand in opposition to it. And as long as everybody that's in this room continues trying to just do their part, I genuinely believe that we'll ultimately be able to bring it down, because as they get more and more and more restrictive, I always love to stick with film. It's like when Princess Leia, the little woman, looks up at big scary Darth Vader and says, the more you tighten your grip, the more stars will fall through your grasp. And that's what's going to happen. The more that they try to lock down the control, the more self-evident it becomes, the easier it is to get the normies on our side. And that little video that I put up that just suggested all of the macro level things that Trump has been doing in favor of this machine while basically disregarding Americans, a lot of people are noticing. It's resonating with lots of just regular Trump voters. They're starting to look around and say, what the hell happened to the guy that was supposed to be our MAGA leader? And the only thing that we can get that discredits it is either, oh, you're not MAGA enough, or they just say, woe is you, you're only upset because you're insert slur here. And people see through that stuff. And so just keep calling out the games. These are not intelligent individuals. They're not savvy individuals. In fact, I think that they're low IQ sociopaths that also happen to be narcissists. And in doing all of those things, they demonstrate the very accusations that we make of them. So let's just continue seeing it. And just like you did, Sam, with Charlie Kirk, and you're noticing these patterns, as soon as I started to go down this path, you knew exactly where I was going, because you too are kind of the advanced level noticer, where you notice not only the patterns in the individuals, but also the playbooks that they run. Because again, it's not a clever opposition that we're against. They just happen to have all of the power, all of the machinations of influence. But once people notice the ruse, it doesn't matter if they have the lightsaber or the Death Star. We're going to be able to call it out. We're going to be able to oppose it. And at the end of the day, us with our little band of Ewoks are going to win against the thing. So back over to you guys.
Oh, wow. Wonderfully said, Ian. Give that guy a follow, everybody. But no, I just want to riff off of that, Ian. I mean, you said it so well, so thoroughly, but this Nikita Beer, he's a real problem. He's already demonstrated the willingness to just like ban people who challenge him or ask difficult questions, like just nuke really large accounts with like tens of thousands of followers, like Antunes. Just he asked a question or challenged something Nikita Beer said, and Nikita Beer just nuked his account. And then we saw him give that payoff last week to this Zoomer account with like 22,000 followers. He complained about his payoff, and Nikita Beer sent him $10,000 in his ad monetization. Just boom, just like that. And this guy's out there. He's a Jew. He's radical. He's banning people. He's giving these arbitrary, massive payouts. It looks really suspicious. He's obviously operating with an agenda. And look, we know who already authenticates and controls the bots on Twitter. It's a company called, I think it's called CheckQ, and that's one of the companies that Elon Musk met with and contracted with when he went to his post October 7th visit to Israel. He met with them and he contracted them, and they are the company that helps run, quote unquote, the bot control on Twitter, an Israeli company. And then of course you have Authentics, another Israeli company that controls authentication, when you want to get your blue check and get monetized. Of course, Stripe is also involved, also Jew-owned. All of these Israeli and Jewish companies are in charge of verification, or in charge of controlling bots and monitoring bots, and all of these things on Twitter already. okay, already. And he just announced a few days ago they got rid of 1.7 million bots. But I have noticed that the numbers of Jew bots, I call them Jew bots, these inauthentic accounts that are always harassing you in your replies. And you guys should when you start seeing these subversive and weird replies to your tweets, you should make a habit of sometimes going to check their profile page and learn to recognize an inauthentic account or a bot account or, some kind of, I call them Jew bots or Fed bots. That's just what I call them. I don't know always who they are, but sometimes you can tell by what they say or what they're posting about what kind of bot they are. But I have not noticed a downtick in any pro-Israel Jew bot activity in my posts, even though Nikita Beer is out there saying we've nuked all millions of bots. Well, does that include the Israeli bots? Yeah, I don't think so. They're not getting rid of the Israeli bots and the Israeli boosting. And I do think that if, obviously there are accounts and people who are exempt from mass reporting. They're exempt from the deboosting. And we know who those accounts are. The rest of us, I've been demonetized, temporarily suspended from mass reporting. And I've seen many, many, many other people in this space be banned and lose monetization and lose their accounts through mass reporting. And not everybody gets their account back. Not everybody gets their monetization back. But I have noticed that certain accounts who get mass reported are never, they're completely exempt from it. They check the box that says make this account exempt from penalties that are incurred under mass reporting, And those tend to be these Zionist Hasbara, Jewbot accounts and inauthentic accounts. It's just hard to get rid of them. They get boosted. So I can imagine very easily a scenario whereby the rest of us will be deboosted or demonetized or penalized in some fashion if we don't go along with all the self-doxing rules. But I very much doubt that these undercover Jewish accounts like Cheryl Wrote It, End Wokeness, and many others who are actually Jewish spy accounts, I very much doubt that that they will be deboosted or demonetized or penalized in any way, for opting out or they'll be allowed to lie. I mean, who knows? That's who they control this platform. And Linda Yaccarino last year gave an interview in which she said after October 7th, we started working with intelligence agencies and law enforcement partners around the world to protect Jews in Israel. She literally announced to the world that they basically turned X over to Israeli intelligence to protect Israel. And it shows because they had a trust and safety. Zach Shapira and Nikita Beer had a product. And, you have Larry Ellison of Oracle. He's the number one, I think, individual investor, in Twitter. He's the guy who just bought TikTok. He's the largest private donator to the IDF. Right, he's all in favor of Project Stargate and the mass surveillance state. So that's who's helping fund Twitter along with BlackRock, Larry Fink. That's who runs this platform. This is a fully weaponized platform, and they're continuing to weaponize it ever more. I'll go ahead and end there. I just wanted to add that to Ian's wonderful monologue. Go ahead, Ryan. I guess we're coming up on it.
Yeah, no, brother. I wanted to add to that. You guys remember CISA? When our government started to rig these elections and they started to deplatform anybody that was saying that the 2020 election was rigged, and how they realized, or what they realized, was that when they target the larger accounts and they deplatform a large account, it creates too much public outcry and outrage. So what they were doing is they were using some type of tracking software. So they went back to, I forget what tweet it was. It was like one of the original tweets when Trump said something about the 2020 election was rigged, mail-in ballots, something. And then they go, okay, well, what caused this tweet to go viral? And they track down the top 3 large accounts that promoted that tweet. And then from there, it went to all the accounts that retweeted that retweeted that retweeted that, and quote tweeted that, whatnot. So what they were actually realizing is going, okay, instead of taking off, let's say instead of taking out Ian Carroll and deplatforming Ian Carroll because you're going to piss off millions of people and it's going to be too obvious, what we can do is we're going to figure out what are the top 3 or 4 accounts that are much smaller but are always reboosting Ian's content and always sharing Ian's content. And they started to take the legs out, if you will. So that's one of the things. That's why you'll see a lot of these smaller accounts will get taken out because most likely those smaller accounts are constantly pushing out a larger account that they want to basically slow down the reach of that account. So by taking out the smaller accounts, they inherently shadow ban or throttle or censor the larger accounts, if you will.
Hey,
So
Ryan, for what it's worth, I played the
I just want to jump in there real quick because I have a bunch of friends that are those smaller accounts. I'm a smaller account. Hold on, go back. I think I got 1,300 on this one. Um, this it happens all the time with the smaller accounts that push the bigger account stuff. So that is absolutely going on.
This game one time, I went and looked at one of the posts that I had that went more viral. It had a couple 100,000 or maybe 1 million plus views. The thing that was wild was looking at the quote tweets, and I recommend anybody that doesn't believe what I'm about to say, feel free and go and do it under the quote unquote highlights section of my page or whatever. And what's crazy is there were quote tweets where somebody would put out a video or whatever content I had posted. They would share it to their audience that might have, like yourself, Ryan, might have 300,000 followers. And the views on when they would quote tweet my content, it might be like 500 views in totality, but every other post that they make might get 50,000 views per se. And it was just wild seeing in real time. And I made a whole video of it where I just scrolled through them because it was quote tweet after quote tweet after quote tweet. And they had like 5 views, 3 views, 90 views, 4 views, 15 views. And then I would go through the accounts and they would have, 1,000 followers, 4,000 followers, and they would get something like 7 views on the impression that they had for the quote tweet of my content. So what they do is they look for people that are problematic. And then the way that I believe that they do it, Ryan, is they say, okay, if Ryan shares a post and then I share the Ryan audience, but only the part of my audience that also. So, if you share my content, it might
we're losing you. You need to repeat that. You rubber banded.
So I was, hopefully this is coming in, but what they basically do is they look for people that are in the same silos. So if I share Sam's content, my views of Sam's content will basically be dependent on how many people overlap between myself and Sam.
Correct.
And
And I will corroborate this. I've been closely monitoring this for 6 years, until last year when they stopped allowing us to download our own analytics. You're absolutely correct. It's called a reach ban. It's called an echo chamber reach ban or getting tombstone. And they only show your content to people that follow you in your network. And that includes the overlap, like you just said. So if you quote tweet me, the only people that are going to see it are your followers that also follow me. And not just that, but only a portion of them. Only a portion of even them, right? So this is why when my main account got deboosted overnight in the end of 2023, my visibility got dropped by over 90% overnight. And this is why, because then you go through and you look at all the likes and retweets and it's just people that follow you. That's it. And you don't have likes and retweets from people who don't follow you anymore, like you used to, right? I call it the reach ban. But you're exactly right. That's exactly how it operates. I've noticed the exact same thing, so I'm going to corroborate and co-sign that with you.
Yeah, me too.
And I like to.
I was just gonna say, and it's fascinating to look at it because you can go through the quote tweets, and not only are they so the best way to think about it is if you go through the quote tweets, Ryan, of your content, right? You look at the people that are sharing it; they might have 1,000 followers or whatever it is, but if the overlap, to Sam's point, is negligible in your follower base, what you're going to find is that even those people that have 2, 3, 4, 5,000 followers, when they share your content, if you only got 15 that are in common, that's going to be about the reach of the content that you put out. And so, I mean, it's just sick stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, it's called getting tombstone too. Like there's a tombstone code. You guys can go look at it. When you get tombstoned, retweets and quote tweets, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like I have been quote tweeted by people with over 1 million followers and it's given me like 5,000 extra views or something, crazy.
Right. And I want to talk too a little bit about the game is changing. And I think the way that I've been reporting on the Charlie Kirk assassination, I think is technically a way that we can redefine journalism, right? And I consider it, I was kind of talking to a friend last week about it, and I was like, it's called I consider it blitzkrieg journalism, right? Where when a story breaks, I have the ability to create and get out content in video format within minutes of a story breaking. And then every time anything else updates, I'm able to update it in real time. And before the mainstream media can even, basically get their scripts together, we've already controlled the narrative. And I want to tell everybody too is Jonathan, right? Decent Jonathan, I think we all know Jonathan Backup, right? The dude has 30 accounts. He's on literally his 30th account because he gets in the comments and in his tweet, he writes out verbally, instead of taking the screenshots and recording an audio voiceover and explaining it, he puts the screenshots and then goes and verbally text out in text format, Jewish cunt, right? Or whatever. It's vulgar, it's aggressive, where I could say the exact same shit in a video. I'm not going to get deplatformed, right? you know, when these people are just scrolling through the timeline and you make it so easy for them to report you, like, you know, if I'm 5 minutes into a 10-minute video and I'm dropping Jewish cunt, whatever, like the odds of like 90% of people actually making it to that point of the video, they're very rare, right? I'm not trying to censor myself or censor anybody. I'm trying to help educate you guys on ways to stay in the fucking game, right? That's the name of the game, is don't make it so fucking easy for them. Like, there are clear-cut rules. Like, right, there obviously is Jewish privilege on this platform. The Jews can do whatever the fuck they want. We, on the other hand, you know, they could say anything you want about a Muslim, a black dude, a white dude, anybody, but we say shit about a Jew, and we're getting the axe. So if you have the ability to just take 2 seconds, instead of like verbally writing it out, record a screenshot, you know, and put a voiceover over it. You don't have to show your face. You can still remain anonymous. You're in a Twitter space. If you're talking in a Twitter space, they hear your voice, so it's not like you're afraid to share your voice. Those are just some ways that I've realized to stay in the game. And if you look at, like, I was doing 200 million views, right? And I talk about the Jews all the fucking time. I talk about Israel. I talk about the genocide in Gaza. I talked about HB1 visas, right? And like, I should be just as censored as anybody, but we figured out a way to really kind of break through that censorship wall by just being like relentless and being the first to basically report, or anytime that a story broke, we had the ability to get content and create content and push content out on that narrative. And we were really controlling the narrative, right? Like on X, like our group of people, we 100% like shut that shit down. We made it so fucking loud and clear that, like, you know, nobody was buying the FBI's narrative, that even people like Jack Posobiec, Benny Johnson, and all these dudes are just making themselves look like clowns, because here they are today, Jack Posobiec trying to convince you that, you know, he saw Charlie Kirk get shot by a leftist, and then he's seen them laugh or mock them or whatever or, you know, giggle about it or whatever the fuck he said, and nobody's believing it, right? So I think we are almost redefining the game. And like Sam said, you know, as they evolve, as they get more control, it's kind of like a cat and mouse game, but I still think that we're always going to be ahead of them in a way. And I think, you know, like platforms like Nostr are so important. You know, the biggest downfall to Nostr is they don't have a fucking view counter, right? So everybody, it doesn't matter what anybody says, right? People care about views. They care about attention. You can't monetize or grow a business or even have advertisers that you get yourself, because there's no ads on actual Nostr. You're only getting paid in sats. But when people can't get attention and they put out a tweet and yeah, it gets 5 retweets, which is better engagement than it does over on X, but it doesn't show a view counter, nobody wants to go over there. But if Nostr and Primal would just fucking add a view counter, there would be so many people over there, it wouldn't even be funny. And I think we're getting to a point really where people are going to be so sick and fed up of the censorship that they're willing to go to new platforms. Like, it took us a while to kind of make the shift from YouTube to Rumble, but then it kind of got to a point there before Trump got elected that we weren't even really going to YouTube. We were just going to Rumble. It became like our second two, or outside of X, our go-to platform to actually get information. I think that we're close to getting there with Nostr. The only problem is, like I said, the fucking view counter. But the cool thing about Primal and that platform is it's, you know, any company can create an application that makes your Nostr feed turn into a Twitter-like experience. That's exactly what Primal did. So we all use Primal. Primal doesn't have a view counter, but somebody could literally replicate what Primal's platform and add a view counter, and then before you know it, at least we have a place to speak that we cannot be censored on, right? Like, Nostr is 100% free speech to the fucking max. You can say fucking anything about anyone, and there is it is impossible to deplatform you. So at the very least, we do have a platform that we can go to, and that has to be the next shift. I know everybody's talking about Gab, but I'm just like, you know, how long is it going to be before Gab becomes controlled by the Jews? Like, I feel like eventually we're going to get to a point where that happens. Nostr can never get to that point. So hopefully people will take the time, at the very least, start backing up your content over on Nostr, so that way if you do get nuked, you know, at least you have some of your old content that you can grab and then rip and re-upload over here on X. And I'll pass it back to you, Sam.
No, that's important. I actually do have a Nostr account. I don't use it, but the time will come maybe that I will start using it. Right now, the battle is on Twitter. The battle is for Twitter. And I do have a large account on Gab that I used to be more active on. I'm less active there now, but I could retreat back there if I ever get nuked off of Twitter. But Nostr looks like to be a great option, especially for the future. So I do encourage people to look into that and, you know, make an account. And you know, the more people that make an account, the more viable it becomes as a platform too. So absolutely, I support that as well. We got a hand here, the uncle. And then Destiny came up, and I don't know if you want to keep going, Ryan, or if you want to just take these last couple.
Yeah, why don't we go to like 6:30 and just see what we see at 6:30 and wrap it up then?
All right, man. Okay, go ahead, Uncle, and then we'll go probably to Destiny.
Hi, everybody. Sam, Mace, Ryan. Really nice to be up here. I raised my hand before you started talking about Twitter. I would like to go back a little bit to Charlie Kirk. I'm from Europe, so it's a little bit late here. and I'm a little bit drunk, and I hope my English is okay. The things that, and please interrupt me if I'm just preaching to the choir. It's possible I am. I would say that what I have seen here, and also on Twitter, I'm quite new back. I was nuked and then I had a break. That there is like an awakening, which is quite considerable. It's his birthday today, so it's not like we're going to celebrate that, Charlie was murdered and people are noticing that it was probably not the leftist kid who shot him, right? But I think that we have to see also that it comes good things from all this. That we can see that normal people are waking up and questioning the narrative about it all. When I see my own friend base, I can see that I have mostly nationalist friends, but I also have 3 or 4 of these really ardent Judeo-Christian guys. I suppose most of you in the US would see the same in your friendship base. And probably some of you are like me working on them. I have one guy that I'm working on pretty hard at the moment, and speaking to him, trying to show him, the evidence for why it's a bad thing to being a Judeo-Christian, why it's not a working concept, so to speak. And it's like, going with a bicycle in the strong wind against you all the time. But a really funny expression from him was like, but you have to read Paul. Paul is like talking about how the olive tree will take back the Jews and how they will be blessed in the end, and how they are God's chosen people and all that. And I just had a chat with another guy that is really good with the Bible, and he was like, Paul was like, half of his deed was like battling the same kind of idiots that you are right now. And he was so frustrated with these guys, always claiming that, the early Christians, they have to be circumcised to be real Jews, because back then they were called Jews as well, I suppose. So Paul, he got so angry that he just lost it and just, why don't you cut your entire penis off? So you are like the godliest guy that you can possibly be. This is like the problem. I would say that people are like that, and Paul is showing it really like ardently and crystal clear in the Bible.
I don't know nothing about what the hell he's talking about.
How hard these people are to talk with. Back then it was the Jews, the Pharisees. We have the same problem today, but me talking about Jews, you can see my profile picture, you probably understand what kind of opinions I have about the Jews. But the Judeo-Christians, I think, is a bigger problem, because they can like escape with being Christians, but in fact, I don't know what they are.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Uncle. Let's go ahead. Do we got Destiny up here still?
Yeah, I hope she's
I'm up
got
here.
that. Erica, you know what I'm saying? Thread, girl. Go ahead and tell us about it.
Yeah, no, so the thread, I put it in the purple pill for anybody. It's also on my page, obviously. There's one thing that's not in there, because like I said, I'm gonna part 2 it. There's gonna be a part 2 that I'll put out today that I think is more critical in terms of the evidence supporting Israel's hand in all of this. There's an interesting revelation that I found when I had to identify the unit that was working with Erica Kirk in Romania, right? This is 2013, 14, 15. But the first time was 2013, after she won the 2012 Arizona, which actually she won it in November 2011, but it gives you the whole calendar year after that. So that's why they call it 2012. But the group that was part of this Romanian Angels program The group is called the Black Sea Rotational Force 13, and they're based out of the Mihail base in Romania. The interesting thing that I found that I haven't posted yet, but I do have 100% verifiable proof, it's from the government themselves. It's not like a third, fourth party source, it's direct source. And I have all the links for it. It's from the DSVIDS, which is obviously military people probably know what it is. It's a repository of articles, photographs, videos that are taken by members of our military, kind of like JD Vance's role, right? The photographers and stuff. They all conglomerate all those pieces of evidence and photos and everything goes onto the DVID system, which is the Defense Video and Information System, right? So they hold all of them online. And I found the pictures from Romania where they were handing out these gifts in 2013. That same force, it was either just maybe a month before or a month after, I forget, I'll have to look real quick, but it's the same year, it's within weeks to months away. They sent that same unit, the BSRF 13, to Camp Adam. And if anyone knows where Camp Adam is America's base, or not America's base, it's Israel's base in Jerusalem. Camp Adam. So that same group that was training and working with Romania that was also implicated in a brothel, which I'll explain why that never led to anybody going to prison. I can completely explain that. But there was an ongoing brothel situation at that base where the BSRF 13 is stationed in Romania. There were trafficking and kidnapping children and girls and, women that were servicing our servicemen in that base. And that same group at the same time were working with Erica Kirk in the Romanian Angels program. And that same group at the same time was also training with the IDF at Camp Adam. Now, which is a lot to take in just in terms of what the fuck is going on. But the reason why none of those members that worked with Erica from that base, in fact, she worked directly with the guy who ran the brothel. His name is General Otto Buscher III. He didn't get any charges despite being explicitly named in the affidavit, and so was the Romanian Angels program was named in the affidavit. None of it became anything because October 30th, 2001, the United States signed an agreement called a treaty in force, which is not uncommon. We do it with every country, right? And they update them all the time for a myriad of purposes, right? It could be archaeology, it could be business, it could be whatever. We signed these, bilateral agreements with all these countries. Well, we signed one the month after 9/11 with Romania. And within it, it describes how the treatment of military, tribunals and stuff like that would occur, right? If, say, from that moment, they sign that, anybody who's in the service, right, and they're serving in Romania, whether or not they're on the base or not does not matter. If they're stationed over there and they're American servicemen, if they break the law, and this is apparently still applied, that if they break the law, Romania cannot press charges against those servicemen. Okay, it no longer, even if they're not on base and they're on Romanian territory outside of the soil of our base, doesn't matter. You cannot press charges. They have to rely on the United States to press charges. The United States looked at all the evidence, which included videos and pictures and testimonies, and they didn't act on it. And to the point that the lead investigator sent a journalist to the United States to even try to talk to President Biden about it in 2019. Right? But it never surfaced into any sort of material. Our government was unwilling to press any charges. But that's the loophole. If people are wondering, that's just speculation, there was never been anybody charged. Yeah, because Romania had their hands tied because of this agreement. They could not press charges. It was relied upon by our people to do it. And Otto Buscher, the man who ran the brothel, who worked directly with Erica Kirk, and that's photographically provable, okay, that he now is the chairman of the board of a gun range in New Hampshire, living out his life all happily.
Can we just respect the fact that Destiny's fucking killing that shit? Did you see this thread that she put together? And all the images and shit. If y'all ain't on X, following investigations, y'all are amateurs, bro. Look at this. Look at the work that people are putting together. I mean, get your ass over there and do it.
And everything, but that is the summation of the new information that has been completely verified at this point. I will be releasing all that information on Israel and the IDF working with the BSRF 13. I'll put it out later today.
Thanks, girl. You can go ahead and put that up in the nest if you want to, but I do appreciate how thorough you are, and you always make sure she's got a little QR code at the end that has all the receipts. She's never been community noted, so make sure you're following her, and in fact, make sure you're following everybody that's on the stage and that's been speaking. And yeah, I pass it over back to you, Ryan.
I want to ask Destiny real quick. I don't want to get you in trouble, so you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Are you monetized, Destiny, on Twitter?
I am.
Okay. Now, the reason why I asked that, everybody, is because here's a little dirty little secret about community notes that probably most of you don't know. When you are a community note writer and your community note is successfully deployed through the process, you get the payout that was due the original poster. Right? So if Destiny makes a post and she gets community noted, whoever wrote that community note gets her payout, gets to drink her milkshake. So that's why I asked. So there is an incentive there to community note Destiny. Now me, I used to get community noted a lot, or maybe not a lot, but because I don't put out fake or false information, but I would get challenged on community notes from time to time back when I was monetized. Since I've been demonetized, not a single community note ever. And I think it's because, they don't get a payout, so they don't waste their time with me. So I just wanted to put that out there. She's getting paid. They're still not community noting her. That's a big deal.
I had no idea that's a thing. I didn't know.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to
shady.
Yeah, I want it. It's super shady. It's totally bullshit. But last year I got 8 community notes on one post. That's how ridiculous. In one day, eight community notes on one post one day, because we kept defeating them. We kept defeating the community note. They kept removing it and putting up a new one because they just hated what I tweeted. But whatever. I could rip off the top of my head like 25 things that would make this platform better for everybody. But instead, they preoccupy themselves with bullshit like, how do we censor people better? How do we make people self-dox better? Rather than like the 100 things we can do to actually make the platform better and implement the things that people actually have asked for and actually want. So that's just another little mini rant. We got about 8 minutes, Ryan. What do you want to do here at the last few minutes? Ryan might be out of range. Maybe, he's giving me the thumbs down. We're in distress. So what we're going to do is we're going to go do a quick round robin with Uncle, Blake, Maze, Destiny, and myself. And if you want to add any last thoughts or feelings to the situation, go ahead now. And by the way, Destiny's thread is up in the nest, so I encourage you to like it, retweet it, reply to it, bookmark it, give it some interactions. Let's give it some lift. We'll start with Blake, and then we'll go around the room for final comments.
Yeah, just wanted to reiterate an idea that was said earlier about a discussion between Judaism and Christianity, and just that whole dynamic. That's intriguing because I believe a vast amount of the public, I'm a practicing Christian. I don't necessarily know too much about it. So I think we definitely should talk about it. Like, let's bring on people. Let's do a space. Sam, this would be a incredible space. I know a couple of guys that are like pastors about my age that would love to chime in and just get a dialogue going. I think it would be fascinating. So just wanted to read that and tell everyone thanks again.
No, thank you, Blake. Appreciate your efforts on this. And yes, I am in contact with somebody who renounced Christianity, converted to Judaism, and realized the error of her ways. Thank goodness. But she's in a compromising situation now, and she will talk to me in text, but she doesn't want to do any voice appearances because, they can easily identify her by her voice. So it's been tricky to figure out how to bring the information to the movement. But the horror stories she's told me of what the hoops she had to jump through and the oaths she had to take and the things she had to do to become Jewish. It is harrowing, it's eyebrow raising, and it will set your blood on fire especially if you're a Christian. people just have no idea, like, the extent you have to go through to renounce Jesus and Christianity and embrace Judaism. It's purely demonic. It really is. I'm not exaggerating. So, but people don't know that. People don't know that. But maybe we should blow the lid off of that. I'll figure out. Maybe she'll be brave enough to come on a space. I doubt it. I'm not sure how we're going to do it, because it's one thing for me to say it. It's another thing for somebody who's actually gone through the process to actually tell you. 1,000 times more powerful, right, than me telling you, right? So we'll see it. Maybe if we can't swing something along those lines. Go ahead, Uncle. Do you have a final thought you'd like to contribute?
Yeah, I mean, I think Blake is on something there. It would be really interesting, I think, to have a space about the relationship between Christianity and Judaism. And something that would be really interesting in that space would be to actually have like actual Judeo-Christians that can defend their point, because those discussions are extremely funny for anybody that understands what's going on. Apart from that, a great space, really interesting to listen to you guys. I'm a little bit surprised that I was taken up here. It's like thousands of listeners and I'm like 200 follower shitty account, but I'm really grateful for that. I've been a fan of you, Sam Parker. Remember when you went on Rumble with Lucas Gage? Always love to tune into those with my wife. We always had a great time listening to it. So thank you for that.
Oh, wow. Blast. We got an old head fan here. Appreciate
Is my mic working, Sam?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Ryan.
Okay,
We're
sweet.
just
All right.
doing a little quick round robin with the speakers on the panel, and then we're going to close up. But you can change that if you want. But
No, brother, that sounds great to me. No, I think it's funny when we talk about the Judeo-Christian debate. It's like, if you guys been in the JQ space long enough, you realize that there is almost no debate. These people, it's very hard to get them to come on and actually have the debate or have the conversation, because when you start talking about, the fact that they believe that Mother Mary is a whore and Jesus Christ is their illegitimate bastard child, and they're both boiling in a cauldron of human feces and excrement, like what kind of conversation do you want to have? It's almost like when you try to convince me that men can get pregnant, you live in a fucking different reality in a different universe. Like, we're never going to see eye to eye, and I almost find it like I find it hard to believe that anybody that's Judeo-Christian is going to come actually on the stage and kind of debate us. But I would love it if they would. I'll pass it back to you guys.
Right, yeah. Let's go to Maze, and then we'll go to Destiny, and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to kind of co-sign what Blake was saying, I just found out about that today. I was actually shocked. I'm really interested to know if you got, the kind of scoop as to what the process is and how, even though I know it might be secondhand, considering, they probably don't want to be tracked. And I don't know what danger that would bring them. Like, at this point, I just think it'd be interesting to put it out there, and anybody that wants to do their due diligence and dig further and maybe find other people, then at least this will set the foundation for that. But I am very interested. I definitely want to be a part of that space. I think it's important. I think that it's very important. In fact, this is what is continuing to allow this, like, the tyranny and what I would say is the most tragic era of America's history is now that it's completely occupied, it's completely taken over, and it's under the notion that these things are one and they're not. And I just, I don't know. Anyway, I'll be there for it with bells on. So
all right. Well, I'll see if I can't get into it and figure out a way to present this information that's a believable, compelling way. Because I do think it's important. It's time. Destiny, final thoughts. Anything you forgot to add about your thread or your research?
Final thoughts. No, not for my research. I try to let it speak for itself, but I will say with the Judeo-Christian value thing, like I'll be there if I'm alerted to the space. I'll definitely go, because I struggled with this myself. Like, I was one of those people who believed in Judeo-Christian values up until about 3 months before October 7th. Oddly enough, the timing was just nothing short of miraculous, actually, because who knows where my head would have been had I not woken up to the reality of what was actually going on before October 7th, they probably would have fallen for a whole bunch of Hasbara, a whole bunch of bullshit. So, like, I know firsthand what a lot of the Judeo-Christians are thinking, because I held the same views for most of my life. And I am I have 3 generations of pastors in my family. My great-grandfather built the church that I went to. So, like, I totally get where the programming is, and it's definitely going to be a conversation I want to be there for.
Okay, right on. Absolutely. Yeah, so listen, Twitter.
Let me ask you this,
Go ahead,
Destiny.
Ryan.
Were you were raised, what were you raised on? You were raised that there was this group of people that thought Mother Mary was a whore and eventually we were going to find some common ground?
They never tell you any of that. They don't tell you any of that. They don't tell you any of that. They tell you the most cookie cutter kind of thing, which is that Jesus was a Jew, so that the Jews are protected. They're chosen people. If you bless, it's the same Ted Cruz talking points. Everything he said was like stuff that I heard growing up in church, and almost word for word. They don't tell you anything about what the Talmud says. They don't tell you anything about any of that. And they don't tell you that they hate Jesus Christ. They don't tell you any of that. They also don't tell you, not in the churches I went to. I grew up in Oregon. I went to Apostolic Faith Church, and they didn't tell us anything about, Muslims are bad. They don't mention that they think that Jesus is a prophet in their religion. They don't mention any of those things. They just tell you the Ted Cruz evangelistic talking points, and that's what I was told and learned and believed I never questioned. And the only reason I questioned, which was like 3 months before October 7th, and I'm not going to say the name of the person because every person in here knows exactly who this person is. We used to be good friends, and they are Jewish, and they just casually told me one afternoon when we were having a phone call for lunch, and they just told me everything that Judaism means and believes. And it started off me being very like, wow, oh, that's interesting. And I was very receptive because I had nothing negative to think at the time. And then by the end of the conversation, which went on for over an hour, my mouth was like on the floor, and I was like, oh my God, like these people, they hate us. They hate my God. And I could not believe that. I'm going to use the exact wordage that she used. It's how she described Jesus and what they thought of Jesus. She's like, the analogy she used was Voldemort, right? Like this is like a bad dark wizard, right? Like, it was making all the Jews look bad. And they're like, yeah, I know, shock face, right? Like, it was the most alarming thing. But had I not heard it from somebody that I thought was my friend and had good relations with, and I wasn't receptive, and if I didn't have like all these elements like right before October 7th, I would have never changed my mind probably. But hearing it from the mouth of a person who was trusting me in this conversation as a friend, and them just being completely honest with me, I got to see something I had never seen before, which was the truth about how they feel about Christians and Christ. And it was very, like, it makes me like fumble my words every time I talk about it, because I remember it like yesterday.
Yeah, it's we all have that moment, and sometimes it hits you like a freight train. Sometimes it sneaks up on you like a bus. But no, absolutely, it really resonated with me. That'll be.
Yeah, but let me ask you this too, Destiny. How long did it take you, like, after hearing that, before you just really, like, you woke up? Like, I was in a space with 1984, and he sent me the video of the Mavitska, where they literally, the rabbis orally raping children 8 days after he's born. It was like 2 minutes. I feel like that their greatest gift is how, like, really asleep at the wheel everybody's been. Because as soon as you start having these debates, as soon as you bring this shit out in the open, it doesn't take people very long to wake up. And that's why I feel like we're on the precipice. And then, like, the censorship has to ratchet up. There has to be some false flag, because it can't continue at the rate that it's continuing. Because at the rate that people are waking up, look at what's his name? He just tried to go on the college campus. Who was that? Glenn Beck. Tried to go and fill Charlie Kirk's shoes, and he lasted 2 seconds. People were booing him. There was people shouting over speakers at the speaker podium. Glenn Beck was sweating bullets. Like, you seen him backpedaling.
Ryan, are you aware of his video that he released? I want to say it was about November-ish, 2023.
Oh, fuck yeah. I already know what you're talking about.
And his greatest aspiration was to be a citizen of Israel. And
he wrote them a fucking letter.
Pathetic.
He wrote a letter. He's like, "Dear Israel, nothing compels me more than to be one of you and amongst the people." I was like, shut the fuck up. It was embarrassing. He cried. He cried.
So I was with Tim Baylor.
Glenn Beck because we thought he was an independent truth teller 10 years ago, right? And too hot for even Fox News to touch, right? And it turns out he's just another pathetic shill that is getting run out of the building. And I hope that every one of these pathetic shills gets run out of the building. And I hope that someday anybody who's gone over there and touched that wall will never be able to walk out in public without hanging their head in shame ever again.
You know, it's funny, Sam, is because Tim Ballard was in, when I first met him, he was going through all this crazy lawfare. And the one part was Glenn Beck helped him build Underground Railroad, right? They were best friends. Every time Sam needed or Tim needed to break a story or talk about child trafficking, Glenn Beck was his fucking dude, right? And then when it came time that when Tim was contemplating running for the Senate or running for Congress, and they knew that he would win with all of the momentum that he had after the Sound of Freedom release, he was almost a shoo-in, and I forget what politician that he was going to upset or he was going to remove from power. But that's when all the attacks started. And after those attacks started, Glenn Beck just threw him under the bus, and he's like, man, I can't believe that Glenn would fucking do that to me. And that is the exact video I showed him. I'm like, bro, dude, the dude was pledging allegiance to Israel. He's fucking bought and paid for. He's not your friend. He's controlled by our intelligence agencies. He's Israel's bitch. And he watched that one video and he was holy fuck.
Ryan, you might know this. You probably know this. Most people probably don't know this. The child ring that Tim Ballard busted up in South America that's portrayed in the movie Sound of Freedom, it was an Israeli-run sex trafficking ring. Okay, it was run by Israelis. Okay, and the head of that ring escaped to Portugal, where a judge basically let him go, and nobody knows where this guy ended up. Right, so that's the real story of Sound of Freedom. It was an Israeli-run sex trafficking ring. You're not told that, but you can go research and go find out about it. That's who was running the ring. So a lot of interest. It's always them, man. It always comes back to them. It just seems to always come back to them.
Every single time. It's 6 million to 1 odds. It's just strange how that happens. But you want to wrap it up, Sam?
Yeah, we'll just wrap it up. Listen, everybody, Twitter is not a free speech platform. It is not an open, super highway of information super highway. It is a military application. It is a propaganda operation. It is highly botted, highly artificial, highly synthetic and manipulated. And I'm not saying don't use it. I use it every day. We absolutely must use it as best we can. But I need everybody to be aware that not everything is as it seems on this platform. Okay, you cannot take this platform at face value. Many of the people, the big accounts that these mainstream accounts that you see coming through your feed all the time, you cannot take them at face value. You must be aware that they're running campaigns, they're being paid, they're being boosted, the algorithm's being manipulated. There's all sorts of bots and unauthentic accounts and fake accounts. You must be aware of the battlefield on which you're engaging. Okay, and I'm not telling you to go leave. No, on the contrary, I want you here. I want you battling. But it is not what it seems. It is not what you might think. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors and shadows and espionage and spy games going on this platform. And you really need to be aware of that. You need to get savvy to it. And I don't want you to develop a mistrust of everybody. That's not what I want. But I do want you to develop a more wary eye of what's going on. I want you to look at people's Twitter profiles. I want you to scroll through their feeds and see who they're retweeting, who they're boosting, who they're following, who their little networks are, who's using the same messaging. I want you to start noticing these things. Okay, who are they? Who's this person working for? What's their agenda? Who are they? What's going on? And just start who's attacking who and why and when. There's things going on here just beneath the surface that scream things loud and clear. But it takes a trained eye, it takes practice, it takes careful observation, and sometimes even group collaborations to sort of tease these things out. But I just want you to be aware. I want you to raise your awareness level that this isn't just some innocent, dumb social media platform that people can just get on and tweet whatever they want. It's just, whatever your preferences are, and it's just a bunch of regular people doing regular things, making regular observations, reporting the news, and blah, 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 having some free speech. That is not what this platform is, okay? We are way far away from that being what this platform is. So just want to let that out there. Keep that in mind. Raise your consciousness. And that goes for all of social media, because it's happening on all the social media platforms, not just Twitter. But Twitter is one of the ground zero highest targets right now for them. So just be aware of that. Raise your consciousness. And let's keep fighting the battle. And I guess, Ryan, we'll see you back here tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, right?
Yes, sir, Sam.
All right.
And make sure you give Maze and everybody, Sam Parker, all these people that follow Blake. These are like the true battle tested people that, you know, you can at least, at the very most, in my opinion, you know, Sam Parker is one of them, Maze, Destiny. They've earned their stripes. They've been out here fighting this fight and been on the right side of history from as far back as I can remember. I haven't been in the game as long as them, but, you know, these are people that have earned my utmost respect, and I have look forward to fighting this battle for a long time with them, however long it takes to win this war. So it's an honor to be up here with each and every one of you guys. God bless each and every one of you. Hopefully you guys have a great day. Anybody else want to say anything else before we wrap it up? Nope. All right, guys. God bless you guys.
Thank you.
Love you.
Alright, they shut that space down. That was a recorded space from Ryan Matta. If you want to find them, go back. I already showed it. I want to jump into another space. Let's see what we got. I know that the title of the video is such that, but what do we got? We got 16 people in here. I'm sure y'all won't be too upset. I just want to jump into another random space and see what's going on. Let's see what's going on with this one.
Sequence is too perfect for random mutation.
Oh,
too specific.
No, I don't want to hear that. I already know that voice. That's Grok. They're doing one of those fucking talk to Grok space. Israel is a ooh, that one's gonna be gangster. This one might get my YouTube channel fucked up.
You know, Zionist, that's another conversation. But I feel like the thing that I was trying to put up beforehand was like, you can understand where one side's coming from and the other side. The conversation about Iran, like most Western people think Iranians are like hateful, they're infiltrating, etc. But I feel like if you think that Israel is a terrorist state, and most people look at Putin like he's an enemy for doing what Ukraine's doing, that's no difference to what Israel has done, to what America has done to Afghanistan and other countries. So I feel like you can't choose sides. Like, at the end of the day, death is death, war is war. There is no wrong or right.
You said, what did you say? You say what Putin's doing is the same as what's going on in Palestine? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying exactly that, but like, if you're looking, most people will look at Israel.
No. One second. No, guys, Hassan, don't do that. Let me have a conversation. So what are you saying? Go on.
Basically, like, depending on what side you're on, a lot of people look at what Israel doing is completely right. But then when they see what Putin is doing, they see that as like, he's a war criminal, he's a terrorist, like he's the worst state ever. But then a lot of people will be like, hey, what Israel doing is completely fine, but they wouldn't see them as a terrorist state. So I feel like you can't judge one without judging the other, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Actually, you can judge. No,
Wait,
I
why'd
think
you guys kick me? Like, what the fuck?
No, I think what he's saying is that the same people that
Alright, this is falling apart. That's probably gonna be too spicy for YouTube. Anyway. Alright, let me see. Is there another one that I think will be interesting? If not, I'll shut it down. What is this? I don't know any of those speakers. It's not the topic. I'm looking at the speakers to see if there's like cool ass people. Oh, ooh, that one's definitely probably gonna get my YouTube channel fucked. Alright, yeah. I appreciate y'all hanging out. I'm gonna end the stream. I'm gonna go play around in some other rooms tonight, but hope y'all had a good time. I stream these spaces. I stream a lot of different wild views on, you know, like I go into some wild spaces. I go into spaces I completely disagree with, and I want to hear what they're talking about, what arguments they're making, and I'll try to hear all sides of all argument. That's kind of what I'm doing on my YouTube channel with these spaces. But I do have a certain viewpoint, and if you hang around long enough, it's pretty clear. Anyway, man, I hope that everybody goes forth in their night and has a good night, and